Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Q&A Tuesday. Are you ready? I am totally ready. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. I created my channel with the hope of sharing all the things that I know with all of you. So I hope that you'll hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and at the end, if this video helps you, I hope you'll share it. Okay, so let's get started. Now, I take all the questions that I get from the viewer comments, from emails that I get, from my Instagram posts, and I put them all in one episode, which is Q&A Tuesday. Okay, so thank you to everyone who submitted a question, and let's get started. Okay, the first question is it worth it to go to an online school versus going to an actual school because of the pandemic? Now, when it comes to deciding if you want to go to an online school for learning medical coding, or if you want to go to an actual trade school, me personally, I always recommend going through the association websites themselves. Now, if you don't know, there's two major medical coding associations. There's the American Health Information Management Association and the American Academy of Professional Coders. Both of them offer an online program for their beginner level, entry level credentials, medical coding credentials. And that way you can go through their online programs and get certified that way. Now, of course, if you are wanting to go to a trade school or even a college or something, here's the deal. Now, I've seen trade schools that charge the cost of a car. Now, not a cheap car, like an expensive car, just for their coding programs. Now, you don't know what kind of education you're going to get from these trade schools, okay? Let's just be honest. We're all adults here. We've heard the horror stories. You don't know what kind of teaching you're going to get. Even when I went to a trade school, when I went for training for medical coding, I may as well have done the online program because that's exactly what it was. I went to a trade school. I was just there in body, but I was literally put in front of a computer and said, here, learn. And it was just literally the program online. So, I mean, to me, it's going to depend on where you go. Yes, there are some trade schools that they do have very good instructors that have that do teach critical thinking. But then there are some that, yes, they have an instructor, but the instructor is just up there proctoring from a book, and they're not really teaching you those critical thinking skills. So you really have to do your due diligence and check and see, check with a Better Business Bureau, interview the school, because at the end of the day, they're taking your money. And you are financially committed to this institution for as long as you are there, right? And you better get your money's worth. Are they going to help you find a job? Do they offer tutoring if you have questions or whatever? It's going to vary from place to place. So this is why I tell you guys to do your due diligence. I will still get questions from people. Well, do you know where to go? As far as like trade schools, no, I don't know where to go. Like I said, I always recommend going to the online schools through the associations because it's safe. You know what I mean? And it's exactly going to teach you what you need to know. So that is what I recommend. And like I said, I'll leave both the links down in the description box below. If you're interested in going through the American Health Information Management Association, their online program for medical coding is back up and running. So you are good to go there. All right. And I will leave the link for that down in the description as well because it is a little hard to get to. So I'll just go ahead and leave the link. Next question. Do you have to be certified do you have to be a certified medical billing / coding to become an auditor? Here's the thing. If you want to be a medical coding auditor, yeah, you need to have that. That's not even a question, because how are you supposed to have the proper training if you're not credentialed? I mean, period. And you have to have experience. You can't just jump in and say, hey, I want to be an auditor if you've never been a coder before. And if you didn't know the answer to that question, then you really do need to have some training. Because you need to know the rules. You need to know how to apply the coding guidelines. You need to know the ins and outs and the little nuances of different codes. So it's going to be different, Auditing is something different. Auditing, to be a medical coding auditor, this is the thing, and I've never really talked about this, but to be a medical coding auditor, you need to know your rules backwards and forwards. You need to know the guidelines backwards and forwards. If you are auditing for the outpatient side, you need to know the outpatient coding guidelines. If you are auditing for the inpatient side, then you need to know the inpatient coding guidelines. And there's differences between the two. And you need to know about procedures, and you need to know about diagnosis coding, and you need to know all of these things, because you're essentially going to be educating the coders that you're marking wrong. If you are telling somebody, especially a medical coder, that they are wrong, you need to have your proof. You need to have your reasonings why. You can't just say, I'm the medical coding auditor and I marked this as wrong and you will change it because I said so. No, I don't think so. It doesn't work that way. You need to have your proof, just like the coder needs to have their proof. And a good coder or a high caliber medical coder will come to you with all of their proof of why they selected their code if they disagree with you. And a good medical coding auditor will say, okay, and they will consider the argument. They will consider all of the information that the coder is bringing to them. If you as a medical coding auditor cannot take direction from a coder who is considered to be your subordinate, then there's something wrong, because yes, you aren't going to know everything. I've been in this field for over 10 years. I've done quite a few audits, and I don't know everything, okay? Whenever I've had to train anybody new, I've had to look over their documentation. I mean, not documentation, but their code selections. I've had to look over them. And I don't know everything. And how somebody looks at documentation or the things that they know may be different from what I know. So you have to be able to say, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that. Well, thank you for showing me that. Okay, then that expands my knowledge base even more. So if you are if you want to be a medical coding auditor, that's something that you need to keep in mind. But yes, you need to be certified as a medical coder. That's first of all. You know, you can't roll up in there with no credentials behind your name trying to audit somebody, especially somebody who's credentialed already. Okay, so that's my answer on that one. Next question. Is there any programs to become a medical coder that is less than a year if you have medical background already? So the programs that are online through AHIMA or AAPC, they are self-paced. I think there's a cap on the AAPC program. I'm not sure. You have to, like a cap meaning like a time limit. I don't know. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just let me know in the comments. But I don't know. I haven't been on AAPC in a minute, so I don't know. You have to check with the websites, guys. Do your research if you are really considering going through these. And it's funny because sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, "Well, I know AAPC this," and then they'll ask me a question about AAPC. So if you know about AAPC, why don't you go to AAPC? Why don't you look on the website? Because I'm not going to tell you anything different from what the website's going to tell you. The website's going to be able to tell you more because I'm not credentialed through AAPC. I'm not even a member of AAPC. I'm with AHIMA. So I do tell you guys about both associations because I think it's only fair. And that way you guys can make your own decisions about what association you want to go with, whether you want to go through one or you want to go through both. If you're a brand new coder, I always recommend going through only one. Okay, you got enough on your plate to learn coding. You don't need to be trying to pile on all these credentials and you have no experience yet or very little experience. Because guess what? For every credential that you hold, you're going to have continuing education units to maintain that credential. Oh yeah, it doesn't stop at just getting your credential and then you're done. No. You have to have education. You have to continually educate yourself. And you have to be able to report these continuing education units. And it's going to vary based on the credential that you hold. So I'm just saying, that's something to be aware of, guys. That's something that you need to keep in mind, okay? So that's my answer on that one. But yes, check out the websites. I know AHIMA is a year from the time that you pay that you have. So it's self-paced, but you have 1 year from the time you pay. So that's what I know on AHIMA. But AAPC, you have to check into that one. The next one is, you mentioned the tint key machine. Are they used much in offices now? So it's not a tint key machine. It is the tint key by touch. So on your keyboard, right, on your computer, you have the area with all the letters, and then you have the little pad at the side. It has all the numbers. That's what I mean, the tint key by touch. The codes are alphanumeric. Okay, so you're going to have times where the codes, and then if you're doing like the procedures, if you're doing the procedures, then sometimes you can be able to just punch in, the procedure code or whatever. If you're looking it up and you just punch it in, you'll be able to do that. But yes, it does help to know tint key by touch. Okay, it's not mandatory, it's not required. But it is going to make your life a lot easier if you know. Okay, and we all know that you got to use the number 5 key, because it's got the little bump on it as your center key, and that's how you know. Okay, so just a little heads up from me to you. Next one is, I was thinking of going back to school for medical revenue management, but I have no experience in billing and coding. I was wondering if I should go to school for that and get knowledge again to get certified, but I don't know if it's a good idea to waste my money if I don't get hired. Here's the deal. If you write me something like that, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to be very blunt with you. If that is the first thing that comes to your head, that you're going to spend all this money, you're not going to get hired, and you don't know if you should waste your money. If that's the first thing that you're thinking of, then this is probably not a field for you. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this to be real. If you can't go into this with a negative thought in your head, like, I'm not going to get a job. Every medical coder goes through this. 98% of coders go through this in the beginning, where they struggle to find their first job, because everybody on their job listings, a majority of the job listings, is going to say that they want experience. Now, they want experience because a lot of times when people are hiring, it's because they really need somebody, and they need somebody to hurry up and get them caught up, or whatever the case may be. Yes, there are listings for brand new medical coders, and yes, I do recommend that even if it says that they need experience, that you still apply anyway, because everybody's gone through it. Okay, but you're supposed to still apply, because you need to get your name out there. And yeah, it's going to be difficult in the beginning. I have always been honest with you all about that. Everybody goes through it. Some people let that stop them from getting into the field, or they go through the training, they get the certification, and then they just give up because they applied at 2 or 3 places and then they didn't get a call back. So they just gave up. You went through all that. You went through time away from your family, and, just putting your life on hold to learn this stuff, and then you're going to just give up? Guys, don't do that. This is going to take commitment. This is why I always tell you guys the real deal, okay? And it's not the most popular thing, I know. And there's a lot of times that I know that I get attitude from people, but it's okay. At least I told you. At least somebody told you. You really do need to stop and think, not putting that in your head. Don't manifest something like that that's negative, because all the energy that you put out every time you speak is what is going to come back to you. If you're putting out negative energy, like, say, for instance, I did get that, and I talk about this comment that I got all the time, right? So the comment was, I had mentioned that I had spent 2 months, I had gotten a job within 2 months of getting my credential. And I got a comment from a viewer that said, well, I'm glad, good for you that you got a job within 2 months. I've been looking for a year and I still haven't got a job. I'm glad for you, or whatever. Was she really glad? No. But that's negative energy that she's putting out. That sarcasm is not good, because the thing is, that's reciprocating that energy. If you're genuinely happy for somebody, be happy for them and say it, okay? But if you're not, then don't say anything. The same thing in this situation. You're not even in the program yet. You haven't even decided if you even want to yet. But your first thought is, I don't want to waste my money. That's putting out negative energy, and the negative energy is going to come back. Now, there's times when, yes, we as adults don't know the things that we're doing, right? We don't understand that we're doing negative self-talk. So this is when I'm telling you now, it's negative self-talk. Try to rethink about it, okay? It's an investment in your future to go to these programs. Is this a worthwhile field? Absolutely. I love this field. This is why I created my channel too, because I want people to know the truth. I want people to understand that this isn't a game. You know, some people look at it like they hold up money bills and things like that and saying, oh yeah, you can make all this money, and they try to make it real flashy, and oh yeah, you can learn it in just a few days, and you know, then you're on your way to this great career. No. You can't learn it in just a few days. That's number one. This is the flashy money thing that they do. Again, you're going to have to work your way up. Okay, so if you're expecting all of this money, somebody that lives in Florida is going to be making a lot different money than somebody that lives up in Michigan. I'm just saying. Same thing with Texas versus California. Completely different. I'm just saying. Okay, so that's my answer on that one. Don't do negative self-talk, okay? If you want to do it, then do it. Don't worry about, oh, am I wasting my money? It's not a waste of money if it's an investment in your future, right? I'm just saying. Next question. Does where you get your training to be a medical coder affect becoming a coder? It can affect whether you learn properly or not. If you are not being taught critical thinking skills, like really looking at a scenario and really kind of understanding why, or being taught where to find your resources and things like that, then yeah, it is going to affect you, because you're going to be lost in the sauce. On my Patreon channel, and this is a plug for my Patreon channel, on my Patreon channel, my exercises are not official, but I do break down different parts of coding and diagnosis coding and procedure coding and the other little things that you need to know. And of course, I talk about myself too, because it is Patreon. So, but I do that on Patreon, and those pledges start out at just $1 per month. And I do it like that because I don't feel like financial things should get in the way if a student wants to learn. Okay, so I'm very generous when it comes to my time on Patreon, when it comes to telling you guys about little things, and so about coding. So the little things, not a little bit of things, the little things, because it's the details that'll get you. Okay. But yeah, so I will leave the link for my Patreon down in the description box below. So, but yes, that's the only thing that it does affect you. But if you went to like a particular school and then you took your certification exam, and they say, well, all they're going to want to know is, are you certified? They don't care where you went to school. Okay. Honestly, they don't care, because there are some people that do independent study. Okay. What they care about is, are you credentialed and can you code? That's all they care about. So that's the answer on that one. The next one is, I'm 45% done with the coding certificate. I am taking ICD-10 PCS, and I'm not sure that this is what I want to do. Should I finish the course or find another path? I'm so torn. Again, with the negative talk, okay? You're 45% done with a program. Is it getting harder? Absolutely. You're getting about to that middle part, and you start learning PCS. Now, I will tell you guys, PCS trips me up too, okay? I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. But I'm telling you, if you know, you're 45% into it, you're about halfway there, and you want to give up now, what's going to happen when you try to go somewhere else and you try to learn something else? It's going to be hard with something else too, because you're having to learn something brand new. So my advice to you is, or anybody else in this situation, don't give up. Why would you give up when you've already invested your time and your money, and Lord knows how much you paid for this program, or if you had to go through loans or whatever to get into this program? Don't give up on it now. This is called the shaping process. That's what I like to call the shaping process. This is when things start to get rough, and you got to stick with it. You got to dig deep, and you got to keep going. Doesn't matter that it's going to get hard. Yeah, you're going to sit there and you're going to be lost in the sauce for a little bit, but you got to stick with it, because once you get out of that bumpy road, those bumpy waves, then you're going to be fine. But you got to ride the wave and go through those motions while you're feeling lost. If you don't understand something, if it's not making sense to you, keep reading it. Keep looking at it. Look for other ways to learn it. Look on YouTube. There's plenty of videos on YouTube, okay, to try to help you understand. Either it's a procedure that you don't understand, or it's a certain kind of diagnosis you don't understand. Google is your friend. You know, there's different things that you can do to look up whatever is tripping you up. But do not give up. If you're already in the program, keep going. Because if you stop, you're always going to stop. Doesn't matter if it's medical coding or medical transcription or, you know, medical front office or being a medical assistant, whatever the case may be, whatever program if you give yourself an easy out like that just to give up, you're going to give yourself an easy out for anything else that you do. And then what are you going to do? Stick with it. Whatever you do. Tough love, yes it is. But I'm telling you now, stick with it. All right? Next question. And this is, well, it's a 3-parter. So, well, 4-part. Do you recommend the CPC program from AAPC? As I mentioned, I recommend the online programs for AAPC or AHIMA. Okay, so to go through their medical coding programs online, I recommend that. I haven't taken anatomy and medical terminology. Do I have to start with those? Heck yes, because that is going to be your foundation. That's how you're going to understand what's going on. Because otherwise, if you start trying to learn the coding part first, and then you don't learn the medical terminology and anatomy physiology, you are going to be lost. That's your base foundation. Anatomy, physiology, medical terminology. That's all your base foundation. And that's where you have to start when you are learning medical coding. And then the next one is AAPC self-paced? And could I complete it sooner than 6 months if I do it full time? Again, you'll have to go to AAPC to find out those answers. But if you are really dedicated and you want to get through the program quickly, you need to study, okay? Don't just fly through the program because you want to hurry up and get your credential so you can get out in the real world. Because guess what? When you get your credential and you get out in the real world, they're going to keep testing you. Every single place that you go to, every hospital, every doctor's office, they're going to give you a beginning assessment. I was going to say essential. Beginning assessment exam, right? And they're going to, or a test. And they're going to test your knowledge to see what you know. So don't try, that's my advice. Don't try to fly through these programs. Did I make it through in 6 months? Yes, I did. But I did a lot of studying. I mean, I've always an avid reader. If you're an avid reader and you think you can make it through in 6 months, great. But I didn't have any medical background, but I studied my tuchus off. And I made it through. So, I mean, you know, if you want to get through there, but you just have to be dedicated and got to make sure that you're studying, because, you know, it's going to show once you get out in the real world what kind of training that you've had or how dedicated you are, okay? And then the last one is, are there any medical coding programs in Southern California that you can recommend? I don't live in Southern California, so I don't know. You have to do your research, guys. I'm a medical coder, yes. Do I know a lot of stuff? Heck yes. But when it comes to doing some of this research, guys, you got to be able to start doing that on your own as well, okay? I don't mind answering, but when it comes to specific questions like that, like for local areas, you can do the research when it comes to that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But if you have any other questions for next week's Q&A Tuesday, please let me know. I will leave my email address down in the description box below, or you can comment below. So if this video helps you, I hope you'll share it. All right, if you're a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.